Welcome back, everybody, to the Little Less Fear podcast. I'd like to introduce Zahra Karsan. She's a certified in mindset coaching and neuroscience. She's an inspirational public speaker as well as a trusted personal success coach to dozens of global executives. Voted by Yahoo Finance as a top 10 success coach, she's the best-selling author of 6 Weeks to Happy and the creator of the R.E.W.I.R.E system, and that's abbreviated, or I mean, you have that in abbreviation, R.E.W.I.R.E
Yeah.
system, a groundbreaking methodology that retrains your brain for greater happiness, health, wealth, and success. Her company, GetZEND, offers a suite of interactive tools that include online video training and an award-winning app to help you stay on track with your life goals without compromising your life experiences. Welcome to A Little Less Fear podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Lino. And you're such an inspiration. It's such a pleasure to be here with you.
Likewise, thank you so much. So, Zahra, tell us about your incredible journey.
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, I was born in South Africa during apartheid, so that's already a challenging
Yeah,
situation
wow,
to
yeah.
to the world into. And I think when you're that little, you're not really equipped to handle complex situations like that. You're born into a world of segregation, discrimination, racism, and your little brains, we are not wired to process that. We don't even have a language for it at such a young age.
Right, right.
And so what happens is we start to create a story to explain what's going on around us when there are things that happen that can't be explained. So, I think Helen Keller said it perfectly back in the day. And she was if you can ever read her writing, she really was brilliant. And that she was hearing impaired and blind as well. And she said, a child will run around and they'll fall and they'll cry and they'll pick themselves up and they have no concept of time whatsoever until one day something so traumatic happens that it causes them to ask the question, why? And what happens is we are human beings, and part of being human, literally, the moment we became conscious, we started telling stories. We started creating meaning and adding meaning to everything that happens in our lives. So there's the event, then there's our interpretation of the event. And my interpretation of those events not being able to not being able to go to the public beaches when I was 3 or 4 years old was, oh, okay, well, why is this happening? This is not where I wanted to be. Why is this happening? And I said, oh, I guess I'm not good enough because of my skin color or because of whatever reason, any multitude of reasons. And that then got shelved in my little memory bank, and I continued on with my life, not fully understanding the moment. Later on in life, I came to realize that it was still playing in the background. I was a happy-go-lucky child. I had lots of friends. I had a beautiful life. And then I caught myself thinking this thought, oh, I wonder if I was this skin color, or I wonder if I was, you know, tall or thin or whatever the case was. It was some form of not good enough, some form of not being good enough to fit into this world, or to have the things that I wanted to have, or to enter the worlds I wanted to enter. And as I went through my life, I thought, well, no, I always just had this deep inner knowing that I was going to be okay, that I was going to do well in my life. And I said, well, that story is not aligned with what I want to create
Right.
for my life. I want a big life. I want to be excited and charmed by my life. So I need to rewrite this. I need to figure out why this happened. And as I started working in the work field, I studied psychology because I was fascinated by human behavior, and I became fascinated by two groups of people. The group of people that seem to have that little sparkle in their eye, and like they know something the rest of
Yeah,
us,
right.
like they know the secrets to happiness, or they know the secrets to life. So I became really fascinated with that group of people. And then I became really fascinated with, reading all of the business books, um, Habits of Successful People, literally everything from Good to Great, The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, and really trying to understand what separates the large critical mass of people from those few that just go far beyond. They reach far beyond. They have a large, large vision for themselves that most people won't even allow themselves to fathom.
Yeah, where does that come from?
Yes, where does that come from? And why is it so different? How did they break these barriers? And so I became really fascinated with those gaps. Like what separates us from those that have figured out how to be joyful and free and have a feeling of peace and certainty and happiness, and those that are successful. Not every successful person is happy, but
That's
every
true.
happy person I've met has figured out that success is defined in their own way.
True.
And so that became sort of my fascination. I was fascinated with those gaps. So then I went on in my life. I started working in my first career as a management consultant. I thought, well, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life, but I'm going to just start making money and figure it out as I went. And even as I started working with different groups of people, and I was working at a very high level as a management consultant, like $45 million projects, from 5 million to $45 million projects, up to team sizes of 200. That's an enormous,
Oh
high
yeah.
stress job, if you can imagine. But I had loads of fun. I was playing with the big boys. I got to sit at the executive table. That's a lot of fun. But even in that world, I would meet top CEOs that had the same patterns of behavior. They could have great professional success, but you would see little glimpses in either their communication plan or their management structure or how they chose their team or how effectively they led. And I came to realize that everyone has some form of this. And so this is a universal theme, and nobody's really talking about it.
Mm.
So what's the deal? What's the deal with that?
When you say everybody has some form of this, what do you mean some form of what is this specifically?
Some form of that not feeling enough. It could be an executive that had a really great vision for the company, but
There's
la-
something missing, some kind of spark that wasn't there.
it was so I think of it as a professional self and a personal self. And I
Okay.
think people can be really well established. And I think most of us have been goal oriented. So, for example, we come into this world and we don't really get like an instruction manual for how to do life well.
And
We
how to
don't.
be a human being. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We don't have an instruction manual for how to find inner peace or how to
Hmm.
find joy or how to be a good human.
Right.
What we get is a really basic set of marching orders. Do well in school, get good grades, maybe do well in sports, then pick a college and university, pick a major, pick a career, start a job, work your way up the corporate ladder, then you get the car, you get the house, you get the kids, and at some point, happiness is just going to magically show up. But it doesn't work that way, right? So
Nope.
what is the deal? What's happening here? And so I really wanted to unpack what happened to me in my own journey. And it started off as my own self development, quite honestly, because I didn't want that to be my story. So, really, this whole thing started as my own self discovery of how can I move beyond whatever limitations were set. So then I started studying all of this other stuff. I started studying the studies of the subconscious, like with hypnotherapy and psychology and neurolinguistic programming, to try and understand where these patterns of behavior came from. Where do these fear patterns come from that stop us
Right.
or slow us down? So we come into this world, we're very goal oriented because that's all we're taught, you know, achieve your goals, and at some point, happiness will show up. Well, for most of us that did achieve those goals, like by all definitions, I was living a very successful life. I should have been happy.
Sure.
And yet I caught myself one moment just, and I talk about it in the book, 6 Weeks to Happy, as well, that just came out a year ago, is, there was this moment where my project was at an all-time high in terms of stress. And I had taken a break to walk to the kitchen, corporate kitchen, to get myself a coffee. And it was like I was sprinting. I was walking so fast. And I just caught myself. When you catch yourself like you're the observer of your own life?
Hmm.
It was one of those moments. And I thought, wow, when do I get to slow down? I wasn't even breathing properly.
Jeez.
I was
Yeah.
just, my chest was tight. I was tension in the shoulders. I was high stress all the time. And I felt like I was running a marathon with no finish line. And it's just not sustainable. I was very close to burnout. And I said, okay, I need a break. So I took a little vacation, and I didn't even know where to start. I knew that I'd studied all of these things, and I really just was trying to find some peace and some answers. And I think I just was at such a point where I had all of these tools, I had all these knowledge, all of this knowledge. I'd taken self-development courses, positive psychology courses. I'd read all of the books by the top positive psychology gurus, Martin Seligman and Tal Ben-Shahar, the Harvard professors that started teaching happiness classes.
Hmm.
And I said, why don't I just start putting these tools in place? And I figured out within a few weeks, I started feeling more peaceful, and yet somehow also more focused and more productive. And I wouldn't have put those things together
Hmm.
before, because you think that being successful means being exhausted all the time, working to the point of burnout.
Right.
We normalize those things pardon me, I can't talk. As a society, we've normalized this exhaustion,
Hmm.
and there's got to be more. There's more to balance. And so what I came to understand is that we are 5% conscious mind, 95% unconscious subconscious mind.
Wow, that's a
So
huge percentage.
now finally I'm saying, okay, now I'm finally starting to see a picture forming here. So when we try to address that gap of the few that are happy and successful and the rest of us that get stopped, now this gap is starting to make sense to me. Well, if we are 5% conscious mind, 95% subconscious, it really means we're basically running on autopilot most of the time.
Right.
But how do you break that pattern? How do you break it? And so the reality is you have to bring those unconscious patterns into your conscious awareness in order for it to stop. And so the minute you become aware of those patterns, and what I started was after I finished consulting and after I found my way to being, more abundant, healthier, physically healthier, more peaceful, more calm, more focused, and amazing things started happening in my life because I was finally aligning to who I was authentically supposed to be in this world. Like
Mhm.
who I really am on the inside was starting to align with what I was doing, because that world was great, but it wasn't my ultimate mission in life. It wasn't
Mhm.
my journey in this life. And I thought, well, if I can do this for myself, why don't I teach other people how to do it? And that became my next mission. So I started a coaching practice. And in my coaching practice, I started seeing those fear patterns show up. But it was like, in the world of science, you call it empirical evidence, which means you can have, you have to have a pretty decent amount of percentage of accuracy for it to be accepted as a true study, for
Mhm.
example. But you very rarely see 100% as a result. Like 100% of my clients that came in had one of these five fear patterns, and I'll tell you what they are.
Sure.
They're I'm not enough, or I'm not good enough, or some form of that. I'm alone in this world, meaning I have no support. I have to do everything myself.
Uh-huh.
Listen, it doesn't show up as I'm alone, and I'll go into how a few examples of how it can show up. Then there's the I'm not deserving of wealth or success. So we tell ourselves a story like, I couldn't possibly do that. I don't have the resources. I don't have the education. I don't have the
Mhm.
skills. I don't have the capability. So there's, I'm not enough. I'm alone. I'm undeserving of wealth and success. I'm not deserving of love, or I'm not lovable, or I'm not worthy of love, some form of that. And you have to get really specific with the language pattern. And then the last one is about feeling safe in this world, having a sense of security and safety and certainty. Now, I mean, we live in the US, so most Americans don't even have a retirement fund set up. So imagine the stress
Oh
of
yeah.
living from paycheck to paycheck,
Yeah.
right? That lack of certainty of knowing that your bills are taken care of, that your children are looked after, that their education will be paid for, that your retirement is covered, that you can wake up without any worries. And I don't think that when we are looking to earn money or create wealth and abundance, that we're actually looking for money. We're looking for the core needs that are attached to what that can bring. We're
Mhm.
looking for the freedom of worry, that feeling like, oh, I can finally relax.
Yeah, I can find sleep.
Yes, exactly. I can finally sleep. I can finally feel certain that everything has come together, that I'm ready, that I'm doing this thing called life successfully. And so let's just take one of the examples. So, the I'm not deserving of wealth or abundance. It doesn't show up like in those words exactly. It shows up, like I said, I'm not educated enough. I may not have the right resources. I don't know the first thing about finance or business. Where would I get those skills? No
Hmm.
problem. If you don't have them, find a resource, figure out the training, or hire someone that's done it before, right?
It's
Maybe.
interesting because we can have these answers just as you described right now, and there's some people that get stuck and can't even think past that thought.
Yes. Well, most people do get stuck, and the reason is because we actually evolved to be good at survival. Again, we are part animal, right? So
Yeah.
that part of our brain, we have a brain in three parts. There's one part that controls our fight or flight response, our stress response. There's another part that controls that's called the um, limbic, and then the mammalian brain is the second piece of the brain, and it controls your emotions. So now your thoughts, feelings, and stress response are controlled by two different parts. And then you have the prefrontal cortex, which is the CEO, the critical thinking, the decision making, right? So you have three brains trying to all work together, really, and each controlling a separate set of processes. Kind of now explains why we all get stuck in fight or flight, right? So if we evolve to be good at survival, if we're 5% conscious mind, 95% unconscious, subconscious,
Hmm.
and if we're running on autopilot, now we have an explanation to why most of us get stuck in fear.
Right.
That's exactly what's meant to happen. We're just running our lives, our animal cells and our brain are just running the show. Wow.
In survival mode all the time.
Exactly, in survival mode all of the time, and that's great. Historically, when we were, living in the bush and we were in that sort of a way of life long before civil society, that actually worked because if we had a predator after us, we could, that fight or flight response would act like a gas pedal. We could flee to safety, and then what happens is once we knew we were safe, our brains would signal our nervous system to return back to calm.
Right.
Take that same animal, put him in today's world, social media. Look at your phone. Every time your phone beeps, we have how many email inboxes? How many? We have voicemail, we have text. Now you can direct message from every social media platform. So you don't just have text messages, you have WhatsApp, you have DMs. Like every time that phone beeps,
Yeah, stress level response goes off.
it's stimulus response, stimulus response. Here's a perfect example. You're in an airport that's busy. You hear a phone ring. You know it's not your phone. And what
You're
do?
still looking around.
You still reach for it and check anyway. That's a perfect
Wow.
example of stimulus response and
Right.
how we live on autopilot all of the time. So back to those five, let's call them fear patterns.
Okay.
Limiting beliefs with patterns of behavior that I like to call fear patterns that stop us from living our best life. What are the things we all want in life? We want to be in optimal health, right?
Oh
Because that's
yeah.
part of being happy and successful. Because when you don't have your health, you have nothing.
Right.
We both know this. We both had
Yeah.
cancer. We know the realities of that. Secondly, we want love and connection,
Hmm.
right? We all want to be in that fabulous relationship where we are seen, valued, and heard, where we are adored and cherished and loved and supported. But how many of us can actually say we are in loving, healthy relationships? That's number two. What's the third thing we want? Yes, we want wealth and we want success. Why? Because we live in a world where we need money to survive and to live and to have a nice quality of life. So unless you're a monk living in a retreat where everything's covered and you work for your room and board, the rest of us live in societies where you need money to survive and
Right.
you need money to thrive as well. So that's just a reality. So
Hmm.
we need health, we need love, we need connection. But what else? What else is missing? So I came to realize, okay, I've got parts of the formula, but it's not everything yet. So now what's next? So then I started understanding the subconscious and I said, okay, great. I found all of these great new techniques. I started a coaching practice. I started seeing patterns in my coaching business. Great. But then I remembered that when I studied psychology, I realized that most people that need help or assistance in this world, over 75% of us don't even seek it out.
That's
So
for
I
sure.
thought, isn't that incredible though?
Mm,
And I thought the one-on-one coaching is great because I can see somebody in front of me and it's so powerful to be able to work with them and see them really light up and transform and
mhm.
be able to achieve those goals and remove those roadblocks finally. Fantastic. But what about the rest of, like, what about the rest? What is everyone else doing? How can I reach a larger group of people and give them the tools to start coaching themselves? And so I said, okay, let me first, I want to understand the data that's showing up in my coaching practice, these 5 fear patterns that everyone seems to have. So I talked about the I'm not deserving of wealth and success. Let's talk a little bit about I'm alone in this world as another one. Most people are, quite familiar with the I'm not enough. So we'll leave that one.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the I'm alone, I don't have support in this world. What doesn't sound like that when it shows up? How it shows up in your world is going to be something like I've always had to take care of myself. If I want something done right, I have to do it myself. Now,
Mhm.
let's just think about that for a minute. If you are a spouse or a parent or a partner, spouse, or a parent, a colleague, a manager, a leader, imagine how many things you have to look after in a day. And if your subconscious autopilot language is saying to you, you have to do everything yourself, aren't you exhausted?
Are
You
you
know,
even eating?
it's utterly
Yeah.
exhausting. The pressure that we put on ourselves. Okay, so you learn when you learn in business how to delegate and how to empower people so that they can take some of the burden. You can't micromanage everything. Okay. What about in your personal life? We forget to do this in our personal lives, right?
Oh yeah.
And so to go back into those patterns, and here's the magic of it. I said we were 5% conscious mind, 95% unconscious. All it takes to clear up your fear patterns is to bring them into your awareness.
Mm.
So, what I've done in the book is I've mapped out these 5 fear patterns, the most common ways that they show up with many case studies and examples. So, you can actually read through it and say, oh my God, that's me. That's my fear pattern. Now I understand why I keep repeating the same things over and over. Because here's how the human journey works: we are meant to heal our hearts. Simple as that. You can't outrun it. Anyone that's been through a heartbreak will agree. You've got to just sit there and feel that stuff. You got to
Yeah,
feel
you have
it.
to go through it.
Oh my Lord. Sometimes you have to cry. Sometimes you have to scream. Sometimes you have to let it out. You need
Yeah.
catharsis, but you have to move through it. And life is like that. So, first is you have to heal the heart. And the quickest way to do that is with this work. You don't have to go back into any past trauma, but you do need to go back and say, what are those patterns of behavior that have been playing out that have been in my unconscious, meaning I'm not even aware of them.
Yeah.
The minute you can see your pattern, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
And what we say in the positive psychology world is with emotions, for example, if you can name it, then you have power over it because now
Love
you're in
that.
the driver's seat. And that's really, really powerful. So the first thing is, so the book 6 weeks to happy is basically it's a 6-week program where you learn the science of happiness and you learn 3 tools per week for 6 weeks to retrain the brain away from survival and fear and back to balance. So you're learning how to quiet the mind in week 1. And we don't even wait until week 3 or 4. We go straight into those fear patterns in week 1 because I want you to understand the obstacles and be able to clearly, clearly see them so you can literally just lift them up and move them out of the way. Then in week 2, we go into eliminating some of the noise in our lives. If we have not been given an instruction manual for life and we have just been given these milestones, these goals that we need to, get the job, get the career, move up the corporate ladder. Okay,
Hmm.
where's happiness? Where did it go? you know,
Right.
so in week 2, when you're living that life where you're just expected to chase goals, it's not the same thing as happiness or success. And because we're wired for survival, those survival mechanisms that show up in those 5 fear patterns,
Hmm.
for example, they're built to keep us safe. In other words, they're built to keep us alive.
Right.
So if you're searching for deep love and connection and to feel really adored and seen and supported, then if you're telling yourself a story that you're not deserving of love or that you're alone in this world, for example, do you think you're going to fully, open heartedly welcome your partner and be able to be vulnerable if you feel like you are alone?
Right. Of course
So
not.
many, right. So many of us know that feeling of being in a relationship, but
Right.
still feeling alone, or being in a room full of people
And
and
feeling alone.
and I just, it breaks my heart because I've been there myself and I know what that feels like. And I've been able to move through it successfully and come out the other side and understand how to empower myself just by making tiny little shifts. And I wanted to really make it my life's work to give back to the world and say, if I discovered this myself, what are the chances there would be one human being that had a first career in management consulting that became a master in understanding how to get from current state to future state, manage all of the risks in between, and deliver successfully, and also studied psychology, then the studies of the subconscious, then that wasn't enough. And I wanted to understand the data of my coaching practice. So then I studied neuroscience because I wanted to understand what is the brain doing in all of this?
Sure.
How do we change the wiring and how we think and feel and process life events? Because even when you get your mind straight, you can go to a weekend's course, you can feel amazing coming out of it, your life is going to change. And what happens? You come home, another life event hits you, and within weeks you spiral back to autopilot, right?
Yeah.
So I thought it's not enough to give people the tools to get that rah, rah, rah moment. We need to give them the tools that are sustainable. How do they stay in that zone? How do they know when they're going off kilter? How to rewind to come back and reset back to balance again? And so hence the R.E.W.I.R.E system. And the other thing that was really interesting in my coaching practice is I realized as a coach, it's my job to get into your model of the world. So someone like you would be sitting in front of me and someone looks fully together, and I'm sitting here as a coach thinking, how is it possible that this person that looks so put together can't isn't where they want to be in their lives, whether it's love or health or
Yeah.
relationship or work or career or starting a business. And so it's my job to understand how you think and feel and how you process the world. And I have to come into your house and see where you constructed your walls so that I can pull them down for you. And then all of a sudden you have possibility
Hmm.
open. And the next step of that is I then work with my clients then to put their goals in place and a plan in place to get there. Okay, you don't have the financial skills, great. Let's figure out how you can get those or acquire somebody or team up with somebody who's done it before. So they bring that skill to you. So you learn, all of those various pieces to achieving each goal. And what I came to realize is when I had them visualize that end state, that moment when they will have achieved the goal, very few people could actually tell me it would make them happier or more proud or excited. I mean, what are the things we want to feel in life? Aren't most of us tired of feeling stressed?
Right.
Like, don't you want to wake up like
Feel
excited?
joy. Yeah.
Yes, joyful. You want to play more. You want to have more quality time with the people you love. You want a vacation, but not on a budget and not worrying about whether or not it's going to break your bank or make you stressed for the next few
Right.
months. You want a vacation because you want the joy of experiencing everything this beautiful life has to offer. It's a very different place. And so, so after neuroscience, then I wanted to study positive psychology. Applied positive psychology is really, if psychology is the study of, disorders and how to go from not well to neutral, positive psychology is how to go from neutral to happy.
Hmm.
What is happiness? And did that complete the picture? Did that give me a full picture? And what I realized in working with my coaching clients, when we got to the end goal and I had them visualize that end state, so few of them could tell me that it would make them happier in any way. And I said, well, why on earth are we pursuing a goal if you have no idea if it's going to bring you any more joy or any more freedom
True.
or Any more peace? Will it bring you love? Will it bring you family, social community? What will this give you? Well, I think this is what I need to work towards. Okay. So, what I came to realize is we really need to take a step back, because if we've been goal oriented and we've been working from survival and we're on autopilot, there's no formula for happiness for most people.
Right.
And I came to realize that it's really personal. Every single person has a completely unique journey. Who you are and what your special talents and gifts are for this world are unique to you, and mine are unique to me. What I like to eat is different than what you like to eat. What I like to, things I like to do for exercise are going to be different for me and you, different for your siblings and friends, different for your partner, and how you socialize and your version of social community is going to be different. How you like to play, what brings you joy, what brings you peace, what brings you that sense of freedom, what makes you feel loved is going to be completely different. So we are all unique. It's not a one size fits all program. Okay, so what tool can I develop next to help people really understand what a personal plan for their happiness would look like? So I've mapped this all out, and I actually have it available for your audience as a free giveaway as well. So
Awesome.
they
Thank
just,
you.
you're welcome. All they have to do is just go to 6weekstohappy.com, download the free ebook, and it helps you start to map out and develop an awareness for what's working and what's not working in your life. And I've taken a very process oriented approach that I would have done in my consulting days to mapping out your personal life in all areas: family and social community, purpose and passion, physical health, emotions, love and sex, finances, all of these areas, career and work. And you literally get to map out, in order, if happiness was you were living your best life, authentically you, really thriving, waking up excited and charmed by your life every day. Isn't that the dream?
Absolutely.
It's not the money, it's the feeling that brings. It's that
Exactly.
feeling of, like, you want to live on a beach house? It's that feeling of turning the key and seeing yourself walk through the house out to the back with an ocean view. That feeling, when you put your feet in the sand and you know you are living a dream life, because
Oh
it
yeah.
is possible for everyone, and most people don't realize it.
Hmm.
And so this set of tools will help you really map out for you to live your best life, your most excited life, as though you're thriving. Literally map out in hours per day or hours per week, how much of each of these things do you need in each area of your life? And once you start to see it, you can unsee it. So you can clearly now look at this list and say, wow, I feel so much better if I'm in peak performance. So what am I doing that's not aligned with that? And what am I doing in love? Now you know your fear patterns, because we covered that in week 1. In week 3, we go deeper into this whole tool, into
Hmm.
mapping out what would be your best life. And that's kind of a game changer for most people, because you come to realize, oh, most people have never actually been asked what makes you happy, even.
Right.
So now you get to say, wow, when I eat this way, when I sleep this way, these are the easy parts. Okay, what about in emotions, love, and sex? What do you need to really feel like, what would rock your world? I don't mean what would make you feel seen, valued, and heard. We've heard this expression so many times. I mean, what would light you up? What would make you feel like passionate, like this is my person? Oh my God,
Yeah.
that kind of passion, that kind of excitement, then a career and work, and you don't have to make big changes in your life, because this is what scares a lot of people, is they think when they start down a path of doing this work that they have to make massive shifts, and it's too daunting for people. You don't. You just have to understand that the job that you chose might not be completely aligned with what excites you or what your values are or what your needs are. So what little changes can you make within your career or within your job so that it's much more exciting? So you have all your bells and whistles lit up, so that your brain is happy, so that your body feels light, so everything feels easy. And so you do that in all areas of your life. And so now, so in week 1, 2, and 3, we've removed the obstacles. We've given you some tools to clean up all of the things and make some space and make some time and energy for really how to feel your best and how to not stretch yourself. And then you learn about some cool little positive psychology techniques like ego depletion. Ego depletion is not about ego per se. It's the fact that we are energetic beings and we're like a battery. We don't have an infinite amount of energy. We have a finite amount of energy to manage every day before we have to recharge. And most of us are running on empty all the time. What does running on empty feel like? Well, let's see. Your willpower is depleted. Your willpower is highest at the start of the day and depleted by the end of the day. So if you're starting a new diet and exercise routine, this is helpful information, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you're starting a new diet and exercise routine, get your workout done in the morning, get your diet ready and your nutrition ready for the day, because come 6 or 7 p.m., your ability to deliver on your commitment to yourself is going to be at 10 or 20% of what it was at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
So just by knowing these things, you can start to manage your energy differently. What are the things that deplete your energy? The things that are obvious are, okay, if you're not sleeping well, if you're out late partying and doing things that are, that drain you of your energy, if you've got toxic people around you, okay. What are the more difficult things that we don't even think about? If you have an injury, for example, anyone that has a back injury or is in chronic pain, it takes so much energy for you to tell your brain, just ignore this so I can continue on with my day, that by the end of the day it's utterly exhausting. And when you're exhausted, you have less willpower, you also have less ability to control your emotions, so now everything feels amplified.
Yeah.
Great
That's
if
why
you're
people become emotional and angry and crying and all kinds of stress hormones are just depleted.
right. And who hasn't been there where you've been in a relationship or in a work situation or a personal situation where you found yourself overreacting and you cannot stop that train for the life of you?
Yeah.
And don't you wish that you could?
Oh yeah.
Right. And most of us just like, oh, we're on that train. It's gonna go, it's gonna get ugly. I'm gonna have to come back and clean up. And
Okay, I'm passing the red light.
right. So, understanding that we are energetic beings and giving you the tools to manage your energy stores better so you're not running on empty all the time is a huge part of this. Because if you're in a job, for example, that you don't love and it's not your dream life and it's not your dream career, do you think waking up in the morning is even easy? No, because I mean, I know when I was in a job, I barely wanted to lift my head off the pillow. I would call it like peeling my head off the
Oh,
pillow because it felt so painful. I didn't want to start my day. And then you go to a job for 8 or 10 hours a day. Do you think you're going to come home and really start working on your goals?
right.
If you're already in this autopilot cycle of I don't think I
Yeah.
can, I'm not sure I can, I have to do everything by
You're gonna
myself.
add to it.
Right.
Add to
So
that negative cycle. Yeah.
totally. So now we've removed the obstacles draining you of your energy. We've given you some tools to better manage your energy, and all of a sudden you're starting to feel more peaceful, more energetic,
Lighter.
lighter. Yeah, now you're more in a position where you're intentionally able to start your day and say, today's the day I'm going to start working on this. Today's the day I'm going to affect change in this area of my life because I know it'll be good for me and I know I need it. And so, okay, so now you have all of these great tools. You've quieted the mind, you've removed the obstacles, you've figured out exactly what you need and what your personal plan for happiness is. Now we're in a wide open space here. So now what do we want to do? Well, now we're looking at that group of people that have had a huge vision for their life. And I've said, okay, now you're in a wide open space. I've pulled down your walls. You have nothing but possibility ahead of you. Now, what do you want to do? Imagine a whole new life for yourself. If love could feel like this, what do you want it to look and feel like? If work wanted to look and feel like this, what would that be for you personally? Again, because it's a unique and personal plan. And so you start to map out a whole new vision for your life. And some things will already be working and some things will be great. But because you were so unhappy in other areas, you couldn't even see it. And then for the areas that need work, just small little tweaks as you start to fine tune. It's like a course correction, like being in a boat or a plane,
Mhm.
or even a car, for example. You don't veer off the road. You just course correct. It's just
Mhm.
a tiny little turn. It's kind of like that. And so that's week 4. That's the I in rewire. So week 1 is relax and quiet the mind. So you're learning tools to retrain the brain back to balance. And then we're working through the fear patterns and the limiting beliefs. And then week 2, we learn to eliminate the noise. So we start to have better energy. In week 3 is the W. It's what do you need? What is your personal plan for happiness? And then the I in rewire is imagining. So imagining a whole new vision for yourself. And there are tools to help map out what that new life will be like for you. Then in week 5, we go into crafting a personal daily practice for yourself because you have to go through a 6-week cycle of change if you want to sustain it. So there are tools for staying in that mindset and for figuring out when your vibration is getting lower, when your emotional state, when your mindset is going offline and no longer aligned with your goals, then how do you get back to balance? How do you reset? And how do you start each day versus on autopilot with intention? Because now you have choice, remember? Now you don't have to get on that train because you figured out what your fear patterns are. You've seen and brought all of that unconscious stuff to your conscious awareness. So you have more power over how you feel in love, over your choices in business, of how you're going to run your day because you're not out of energy at the end of the day. And so you create a daily practice. And then the last piece is okay, now that we've created this great life for yourself, how about we go bigger? Let's elevate it. Let's take it up a notch or 10
What?
notches.
I'm sorry. What did the R at the end of rewire stand for?
It's repeat to rewire. So it's creating that
Repeat the rewire.
daily,
Okay.
yeah, it's creating that daily practice. And like a gym routine, for example, if I were to tell you, or if you were to tell me, CrossFit really works for me. I wake up at 5 a.m. I go and do this every day. No, that that does not light me up at all. It doesn't resonate for me at all. I have to do what feels good for me. So this is
Mm.
where you get to create your personal plan. I'll give you a whole bunch of tools, and you just need to make sure that you fit it into this little formula and say you need a daily practice to quiet the mind. You need a daily practice to just double check with your fear patterns. Are they running you or are you in the driver's seat? Right? And then a daily practice for setting your intentions for the day. So, what are the things you can do to be in control of your thoughts and feelings with respect to every different area of your life? And then in the last one, we is elevate and expand. So, really about how do you stay in that mindset? So, I'll give you an example. You wake up in the morning and you're on autopilot and you have a goal of give me a goal. Give me a goal that would be something for you.
To go raw vegan.
So, well, that's big.
You mean a
Okay,
goal for the day?
not just vegan, but raw vegan.
Yeah, raw vegan. You mean just a
Uh,
goal for the day?
a goal for the day to go raw vegan. Okay, that would be very lofty for me. Uh, okay, for you, a goal for the day to go raw vegan. Okay, so you wake up in the morning and you think, what is my diet right now? I'm going to go raw vegan. And then the thoughts and the old thoughts and the autopilot thoughts and feelings start to bundle together. Can I really do vegan? I
Yeah.
really like my meat and fish. I don't know if that's
I love
possible.
my kebabs, that's for sure.
There there you go. Can I really give up kebabs? Well, it's just a day, man. So you start now negotiating with yourself, right?
Yeah.
You're in this whole thought loop. You're having a full on dialogue in your own brain, in your own head that nobody can see, thankfully, but we all do this.
Yeah.
So you start to ruminate. And then that set of thoughts says, oh, that feels a little like defeat, doesn't it? Well, that doesn't feel good. No, I don't like to not feel good. So maybe we just don't try it today because we might try it and we might fail. And that's going to feel awful. And I don't want to feel disappointed in myself. So, you know what? I like my kebabs and I'm going to stay with the kebabs. In fact, I'm having kebabs for lunch.
Yeah.
That's how that goes. Now, imagine you wake up in the morning. So now that whole set of thoughts and feelings gets wired together in the brain, and that's called a neural pathway, basically. And so
Yeah.
you wake up in the morning, and whether it's that goal or if it's another goal, they attach in the same way and they get bundled together in the same thought process. And because your brain is designed to be efficient, it's going to follow that same trail every time. This
Over and
is a
over,
path
over
of
and
eating.
over,
Yeah,
and
this is
create the
a path
same
of
path over and over.
yeah, kebabs every day now. Kebabs every day now. I'm kidding. But you know what I mean. That same set of thoughts. I don't know if I can. Will I feel good? No, it's
Mm,
going to be disappointing. I'm not sure if
yeah,
I can. And then what are the emotions that are attached to that? Well, you're disappointed in yourself. It might be deflating. It might be overwhelming. It might be too much.
guilt. Yeah,
Guilt, yes. And that's the whole thing about eating. Most people think, or most people that are trying to shift a pattern in their health think, oh, this is easy. And it really is. The math is easy. We know we have to eat differently and exercise more in order to reach our weight loss or our performance and health goals. But very few of us can actually do it. And why is that? Because there's a mindset running, there's a fear pattern running in the
yeah,
background saying, I don't know if I can do it. I've tried so many times and I failed. And so the brain goes, oh, let's just keep doing the kebab run.
yeah.
That's yes, right? So now if you wake up in the morning and instead of allowing yourself to loop in that same old way again, you say, no, today is going to be different. I'm going to start the day off. And it just starts by setting your intention for the day. So you can get yourself into a mindset of, how would that feel if I really went through a whole day of trying this for my body? And what if it felt great? What
Hmm.
if at the end of the day I had optimal energy? I didn't have peaks and drops. I didn't have a bloated tummy. I didn't feel discomfort or uncomfortable in my meetings. I felt light and refreshed, and my thoughts were clear, and I had absolute focus and clarity. That's a cool moment. Okay. So, what if you could wake up every day, for example, feeling gratitude? Well, it's very difficult to feel gratitude and stressed at the same time, but it's very likely you can feel gratitude and ready to set that intention for the day.
True. Then
And
you're
if
setting that momentum.
right, and so now what you're doing is you're creating a new neural pathway that says, oh, yes, I can. And here's how good it's going to feel. And here's what I'm going to be thinking when I feel that. And when I feel that amazing thing, and when my body feels lighter and it's running smoothly, and my thoughts are clear and powerful and focused and productive, I'm going to feel amazing. And so these new sets of thoughts and feelings get bundled together. And soon enough, the old one just starts to actually dismantle its resources and reassign resources to this new neural
That's
pathway.
amazing.
And it takes is 6 weeks. Now it takes 6 weeks of consistent
Consistency.
effort,
Yeah. Wow.
but that's why that daily practice over 6 weeks is important. And that's why it has to be personal to you. Because if somebody takes me to the gym to do their routine and I don't like it, I'm not going to do it.
You're not going to build a new
I'm not going to
pathway that
show up.
way.
I don't care if I paid for the membership. I don't care if I paid for a trainer.
Right.
Go do it. But if
Exactly.
it's, but if it's my plan and I know it feels good, then I'm starting a whole new set of wiring in the brain that says, this feels great. I'm going to keep doing that. I have faith in it. If you can wake up every day and just set your intentions for the day, then everything else aligns. So now you have quieted the mind, so you have greater focus. It improves your physical health as well.
Hmm.
We've eliminated the noise, we removed the obstacles. You know what your fear patterns are, so you know where you might get stopped and
Hmm.
you can manage for those risks. For example, you want to go raw vegan, maybe don't drive by the kebab shop that day, right?
Yeah.
Maybe make different choices for how you're going to run that day
Hmm.
that align with your new goal. And so your thoughts and emotions are aligning with you. I'm just going to order from Uber Eats. I'm going to have them deliver my green juice and my whatever raw vegans eat. I'm going to
Sure.
say salad. I'm going to say salad. I'm going to have them deliver all my goodies to me. And that way I'm not tempted and I can manage all of the risks. Okay, great. There's your daily plan. And now, as your day progresses, you're feeling great about yourself. You're staying on track. And it's a whole different thought pattern. It's a whole set of feelings. And when thoughts and feelings bundle together like that, you have a whole new set of behaviors and a different outcome. But it takes some practice and it takes some understanding the pitfalls of what it means to be human.
Yeah.
When we fall apart, when our willpower depletes. And if you have those tools, everything just lines up easily.
I
And
love
so
it.
Yeah, it's a really, really powerful set of tools. I'm very, very excited to share it with you.
And that is the secret equation answer to your 6 weeks of happiness. Happy has 6 weeks of happy.
It's 6 weeks too happy. Yes, absolutely. It really is a roadmap to retrain and rewire the brain for better health, for greater abundance, for more joy, and really for long-lasting happiness. And honestly, life is too short.
Yeah.
I want so badly for everyone to have these tools. I never want anyone to walk into a room and feel all alone again. I never want anyone to be in a loving relationship and not feel loved again. I never want anyone to be on a diet and feel that despair of disappointment again. We can change all of that. And all it takes is 6 weeks. And just give it a shot. All you have to do is go to 6weekstohappy.com and download your personal plan today, and just download the ebook and get on your road to happiness and success.
Get on your road to happiness and success with Kara Carson. I'm sorry, Zahra Karsan. How can our viewers or watchers and our listeners find you if they need to get a hold of you?
They can go to 6weekstohappy.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing your love, your light, your energy, and all of your knowledge. Really, really happy that we connected, and I look forward to keeping a connection with you.
Me as well, Lino. Please stay in touch. I'd be happy to support you in any way I can. And you're such a huge inspiration to me and so many others. Thank you for having me on your show.
Likewise, thank you so much, and God bless.
God bless. Thank you.